Everybody. Welcome to our HR Portal webinar. Cold and blustery day here in Chicago. Don't know if you're in the local metro Chicago area, but apparently the weather forecasters thought that the snow was going to be south of Chicago today, and at least where we're at, we got a pretty good dose of snow. So hopefully you got into work okay, and for folks that might be outside the metro area, hope it's warm and sunny for you. We're gonna jump right into our HR Portal demonstration. But first, I want to give you a little quick background about myself. Sam had mentioned I am a SharePoint architect here at Peters & Associates. Been in web application development and IT project management for about 20 years now. My role in today's terms is really to help organizations solve business problems using technology, and our presentation today is an example of that. So the Peters & Associates HR Portal is a Microsoft SharePoint solution. It is deployable in several versions of Microsoft SharePoint. You can deploy this in SharePoint 2013 on premises. It also can be deployed with SharePoint 2016 and 2019. Those are, again, on-premise servers, and in Office 365 SharePoint Online. Most of our folks who are implementing this solution are definitely utilizing Microsoft Office 365 SharePoint Online, software as a service. Fantastic use of that particular application because, by default, your users can really jump in and access your environment really anywhere they have an internet connection and a browser-based device. So when we built our HR Portal solution, we worked with several different organizations, human resources groups around, talking to them around solving business problems related to, human resources services in organizations. And there was really two big themes came out of that conversation. One was the concept of employee self-service. So HR teams have a lot of stuff going on. HR services in today's world are really more than just 9 to 5, 5 days a week, right? You have, folks that, work in your organization. They may need to access forms or information related to HR. They may need to go to sites that you've provided to them, say for benefits or doctors, those types of things. They may need to access forms, and really that access occurs well beyond the concept of just being there at work and going down and sending an email to the HR department. So we've tried to build the solution in a way that your employees can come to the site really from anywhere at any time and access important HR related information and services. The second thing that we heard in our our conversations with HR teams and our kind of creating a design was the need for the HR team to be able to manage this application without having to constantly rely on IT, right? We wanted to have a solution in which the HR team can manage their content, can manage the presentation of information, and as we'll demonstrate with some of our optional, available and optional HR applications, the ability to actually configure and adjust these various applications without having the need to, bring in the HR or the IT guys in order to support that. So what you're looking at on the screen, hopefully everybody can see this okay, is our human resources solution. So this is essentially a package solution that we work with you to set up, deploy, and configure. So our solution includes, as part of the price, implementation services. That means that our technical team will deploy the solution on your platform of choice, again being SharePoint on premises or Office 365. Work with you to configure the application specific to your business scenario, train you on how to use the application, and included with our HR portal deployment is 8 hours of technical support. So we're there to get you going, make sure it gets deployed properly, train you on how to use the application, and then support you in your initial rollout. Our platform is available in 2 different configurations. We call this kind of our traditional department presentation or look and feel, and then we have what we call a Windows 10 version of the application. So the deployment that you're looking at here on the screen is our kind of our traditional department presentation. If you think about corporate intranets, things like that, you come to the human resources site, you're seeing information and icons that I can access information and services. We do also make a version of our human resources portal in what we call kind of our Windows 10 format. So this is an icon-based presentation. So you can see here it's we got a bunch of icons, all the same content and services are available as in kind of our standard department deployment, but you can set this up for just purely icon-based features. Both of the applications are deployed utilizing responsive design. That means we've incorporated a customized theme for classic pages or utilizing the built-in Bootstrap for modern pages so that the application is compatible with multiple devices. So what I'm doing here is let me just get rid of my little dealie there. I'm simulating the idea of, hey, I'm going to access this particular application maybe on a smartphone or on a tablet. So the page will automatically reorganize itself, move the icons and the web components around. So makes it very easy for someone, say, that's on a smartphone and wants to come in and fill out a time off request. They can log in securely to the site, particularly if you're using Office 365, get to the time off request and fill that form out. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move back over here onto our human resources homepage on the traditional department presentation. So the application provides a number of different resources for the human resources team to help facilitate employee self-service. So if you think about that business problem, right, we want to facilitate for our users the ability to access important information, see notifications related to the HR team, look for data, and potentially access a variety of different HR-related services. So our tool is set up with a variety of different places you can store and manage information. We include a feature across the top of the application. This is based on what's called SharePoint promoted links that allow you to configure and link icons with descriptions to a variety of services. In this case, we are representing our included and optional business applications, but you can absolutely configure in the background using an out-of-the-box SharePoint list additional icons and links, and that can go all the way across your page. We also provide for information sharing a SharePoint-based HR calendar. This allows you to update information in the calendar without any help from IT, and the calendar will automatically display a small format calendar where you can drill down into events related to the calendar, and also a display of upcoming events that you've configured. The calendar also allows you to put in place information for birthdays and anniversaries. We found that a lot of folks like that little bit of social communication, kind of talking about what's going on organizationally, employee tenure, things of that nature. So you can configure in your calendar birthdays and anniversaries. Those are automatically filtered and displayed as a separate component here on your web part here in your page. And importantly to note, putting in the birthdays, you can do that where you're not putting the actual person's year of birth in place. All they're going to see is that that birth date on the month and day. They're not going to be able to see any information about how old that particular person is. That would fall very much into my scenario. All right. The next pieces that we have in place are SharePoint libraries in the background and link lists that allow you to configure and display files and links to important information included in your website. So you can see here we've got a whole area here showing HR policies. Just have some representative information there. We have an area to present HR forms. Again, this is a separate library where maybe you've got some PDF-based or Word-based forms. You don't necessarily want to go through the initial construct of recreating those as web pages. You can load these into libraries, and then you'll notice that with our policies, our forms, and our quick links, all of these pieces of information have been categorized. So we provide a standard set of categories and can work with you in your deployment to create specific categories based on your particular business model or business needs. And then as you add documents to the library, you can identify their particular category, and the application will automatically place those into the proper presentation here on the home page. So you can very quickly, around these ideas of self-service, help your employees quickly get a view of available policies, forms, and links, and be able to look through these based on categories and quickly get to the information that they need. The application also includes a search functionality. So I can put in here 401k, for example. I'm going to go ahead and hit the search engine, and you can see here very quickly the application has brought that back through a standard SharePoint search page, and you can see I'm getting a little bit of a preview of that particular page. So different people look for information in different ways. Some people want to kind of peruse a set of existing information, just kind of scroll around, try to find it. Other people like to use a search-based approach, and the application supports both of these methods. Another feature that we provide as part of the HR portal is a employee search functionality. So this allows employees to go in, search for individual people. You can have a controlled display of users. You can see here we have a set of users configured in our demonstration environment. Again, I can mouse over this particular person. This is me in the system. You'll see they're getting a little bit of a preview through the functionality of Delve. So this is allowing us to see information about maybe documents or information that I'm working with. You can configure the application to pull in properties that are being stored and managed from your network, such as the user's phone number, their email address, their location, their manager, so on and so forth. So we can work with you to configure all of those pieces. It also allows us to launch and look at an individual's profile through out-of-the-box functionality here in Office 365 called Delve. So you can see here my profile in Office 365, and again showing some information about me. I can update my profile here. You can also see relationships of me to documents, other people that I interact with through the various functions of Office 365. You can also see organizational information. The great thing about this particular component is that it doesn't require any specific customization from you. This is included as part of your Office 365 subscription, and once your technical team has kind of linked your user identity, if you will, to information that they're managing in the network, such as your email address and phone number and things like that, the linking mechanism will automatically generate this search-based presentation. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our home page. So the out-of-the-box functionality, again, deployed with our HR portal on both the traditional department styling or the kind of what we call our Windows 10 presentation, includes a lot of places pre-configured that you can utilize to share important HR information, things that are coming up in terms of holidays or other types of action items, birthdays and anniversaries, and important information that you're storing and managing within your SharePoint environment. And these are certainly things that you can reutilize in the application. Included with our basic package is one of our pre-built HR services. So we've created several different business applications related to HR functionality. The time off request is included as one of the applications in our base HR portal package, and then you have the option of purchasing additional applications based on your business need. These include an employee onboarding application, employee performance review, an employee change of information form, and a new hire portal. So let's go ahead and take a look at these different applications. The first one we're going to take a look at is our time off request, which is included in the base package. I'm actually going to switch over to another account that I'm working with here today, and we're going to go ahead and bring up our time off request. So I'm logged in over here. It's a little hard to see, but I'm logged in as a different user. This user's name is test user 1, and I've actually, for test user 1, just to set the scenario, I've clicked. I've come to the HR site. I've clicked the time off icon, and it's launched me into a web page where I can submit a time off request. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can see here in the form that I'm able to see our rules and policy around our time off request process. Again, this is an area that you can modify to put your policy and procedure information in place. And then we provide a series of fields that the user can fill out to submit a vacation or time off request online. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that as an example. So I'm going to go ahead and get my calendar, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to start my Thanksgiving holiday a little bit early this year. I'm going to go ahead and take the 21st off. So you can see here, everybody works with Microsoft tools and kind of standard web icons and things. We knew that was a calendar. We could pop that up and enter from selecting a date in the calendar view, or I could have typed this in. I'm going to say how many hours I want to take off. I'm going to go ahead and say 8 hours. I'm going to take out a whole day. We also support the concept of half days, and the ability to identify is that half day going to occur in the morning or the afternoon, in case you want to, from an HR scheduling standpoint, you want to have that, that schedule to occur. I have some notes here for scheduling. In this particular configuration, we are making that required. I'm going to take an extra day for the holiday. And you can see it's already populated the manager for test user 1. So you can see here, this is another account that we have, test user 2. It also recognizes that test user 1 was part of the HR department. So in looking at information or properties in the background related to test user 1, we're able to pre-populate some of that information. User doesn't have to fill that out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to submit that time off request. Again, particularly if you are working with a deployment in Office 365, this makes it very easy for the end user to access these important types of functionality from an employee self-service standpoint. So, you know, we often talk about in this example the use case where you know, maybe one of your employees has a sick child on Sunday. They've gone to an immediate care center. They've gone in. It's like 7 or 8 o'clock at night because the baby's sick. They found out that, you know, the baby's got an ear infection. They've given them some antibiotics, and you know what? It's 8 o'clock at night, and they're going to have to take tomorrow off. So being able to log in securely to the HR portal, being able to access the time off request through their smartphone, being able to fill out that request and submit it online is a very powerful tool for, you know, for the HR team and for the employee and their manager to notify, you know, really at any time necessary that, you know, we have, you know, they have an issue and we're going to get that information to the appropriate people. Now, I've moved over into test user 2's account, and again, they're just kind of sitting here on the home page, but I'm going to bring up their mail. And so what happens in the background is the application runs a workflow, and the workflow is configured in a way that it recognizes test user 1's manager. Again, if vacation requests or time off requests go through, say, for example, HR first, we can also configure for that scenario. But you can see here in my Outlook Online mailbox, I've got a time off request submitted to me. And so as the manager, I am able to click through via our time off request application. And now you can see a page here that's giving me that data. It's also showing me some additional fields now. So I have the ability to approve or disapprove this particular request. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. I can put some comments in if I want to, and then I can go ahead and save that particular request. So that's going to be recorded as part of the time off request application. You can see that data here. The time off schedules, this can potentially be used to illustrate a time off schedule. Again, potentially looking at, you know, if we look here, one of the capabilities of SharePoint is the presentation of time date information as a calendar. That data hasn't flowed all the way through yet, but you can go ahead and get that type of representation. The application can also be configured at the completion of that approval, then to send a notification email to another address. So that, for example, could go to the HR team, letting them know that manager, you know, test user 2 has approved that time off request for test user 1. So all of those types of configurations, we work with you to set all that stuff up. So that's our time off request. I'm going to go ahead and go back to our HR portal. I'm back in as Chris. And the next component we're going to take a look at is our employee onboarding application. So the employee onboarding application is intended to be a tool to help facilitate the setup for a new employee. So one of the big issues that a lot of organizations communicated to us as an HR team is, you know, they go through the hiring process, they've hired the employee, and now We want to make sure that everything's set up for that employee so that they show up on day one. We've got their desk or their, where they're supposed to be. We've set up their accounts. We've provided them the proper materials like a phone or laptop. Maybe they need a key ID, all sorts of different things that we want to be able to quickly be able to communicate that task or tasks to the appropriate folks in the organization. We also, as an HR team, we want to be able to track the progress of those assignments. We're responsible for making sure that employee is ready to go, and we want to be able to check in on that progress, and if something's happening, know who has or hasn't completed their task set, and then go ahead and take action on that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to submit a employee change request. So our application, again, has a online web form that you can fill out. From an access security standpoint, you can make this available just through the HR team. You could also make it available to managers, for example, or hiring, appropriate hiring personnel. So all of the background of access and who gets to do what in the system is all totally configurable and manageable by the HR team as appropriate. So I've launched the request page, and you'll notice that I'm able to select from 3 different options in terms of this change request. I could request a new hire configuration, I could request a change of position, or I could request tasks for termination. These are three basic request types that we've configured. The application can also be configured with additional change request types. Say if you had something where you have a process to change location, for example, and we need to be able to send out tasks related to that. So showing the date that I'm making my request, I'm going to go ahead and, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up for a new hire, and you'll see the form is updated specific to that. I'm going to say that new hire person is going to be coming in on the 10th. I'm going to go ahead and put that employee's name in here for purposes of our work here. I'm going to say test and user 1, and then I can define the position that they're going to be taking. Let's just go ahead and say that is an accountant. And again, we have this set up as a text field. This is possible to modify this for a lookup list of available positions that you might be managing. Who is going to be the employee's manager? I'm going to go ahead and put that in as user 2. Here's my department. I've selected, again, you can configure that list of whatever departments that you need to work with. And we also provide options if you want to put in place, here's a standard email address that we want them to have. Again, that's not required in this configuration. Also access card or key card number. And again, these fields can be, we can work with you to configure specifics. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that new hire request. So what this is going to do is going to kick off a new request workflow that's going to start doing some work. You can see here's some information about some previous requests that we made for new hires. But what I want to show you while the application's running in the background is how you can manage your new hire requests without having to engage the IT team. And we've done this by providing some SharePoint lists in the background that the workflow reads against in order to display, create tasks, display information, do all of that kind of stuff. So that's a piece that I want to go ahead and show you here. So we have a list that we call the Employee Access Configuration List. This is a SharePoint list for those of you who might not be familiar with SharePoint. SharePoint lists work in a very similar capability as Microsoft Excel, kind of a spreadsheet, right? And so you can see here in our configuration list some columns, right? Task name, description, assignments, and then a variety of rows here. So what this information is doing, it's telling the application for each of your different types of requests, be it a new hire, a change of position, or termination, these are tasks that we need to have completed based on that request. You have the ability as the HR team to create as many tasks as necessary based on your request types. You can modify these tasks on the fly for yourself, and the application basically, as you make these kinds of changes, the next time that you run the request tool, submit another request through the form, the application is going to pick up that change in your configuration. So you've got lots and lots of flexibility. It allows you to set this up. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up one of these rows so you can see kind of what this looks like from a configuration standpoint. So we'll go ahead and pop this up. This is one of the cool things about SharePoint is that as opposed to Excel, I don't have to work in a spreadsheet type of format all the time. I can actually get forms that automatically are created by SharePoint. So what this is showing is the actual task name itself. So as the HR person, you have the ability to type in here exactly what you want your task subject line, if you will, to be. So you have full control over this. You can also then add in your task description. This is a rich text box, which means you can type in exactly what you need to have done. You can link this to, say, a form or a resource. You can put in here whatever you want to make sure that the task is being properly communicated. You can then set who the task is being assigned to. The application supports the concept of groups. So if you said, I'm just going to send this to IT and they're going to manage it, that's great. Or you can configure this to individual users if you so choose to. The task also gives you the capability of identifying should the task only occur if it's related to a particular department. So you can see, in this case, this is an accounting-specific task. And so the only times that this task will get generated is if the request is for a person related to the accounting department. So this gives you a huge amount of flexibility to create tasks based on different departments, different business groups. You can activate and inactivate tasks quickly. You can also have the concept of a manager's task. If we click that, it means that this task will be specifically assigned to the person's manager that we've identified in our submittal. It also helps us identify what is the particular request type. So huge amount of flexibility here. I'll go ahead and cancel out of that. So you can set all of that kind of stuff up. You also have here in the list the ability to identify additional request types. You may look familiar: new hire, change position, or termination. For each of these request groups, you can also identify specific task assignee groups that will show up in the configuration. And the application provides a reminder email functionality. So in this case, the application will begin to send reminder emails for the various tasks that have not been completed after a total of 2 days after the new hire request has been submitted. So you have full configuration of this. So what's wound up happening then is the application has generated for different groups, different users, a series of tasks. So these are SharePoint tasks, which means that you are able to track that task list. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at our employee access task list. And you can see here that the application has set up a recording that you can look at as the HR team, or say as a user has to go in and manage multiple tasks. You can see all the tasks that are sitting out there, their assignments, and so kind of keep track of everything that's going on here. The application does generate emails to different users depending on your configuration. So if I go back over here to my mail for test user 2, you now see a task was communicated via email letting test user 2 know that they need to send a welcome email. And again, they have the ability, say they went out, they set up that email, test user 2, something may not be linking there properly. I'll go back over here real quick to our site. For test user 2, basically they could complete that task through the interface linking via the email, or simply by clicking this little box here on the task list that designates that that's been completed. So the employee onboarding application gives you lots of flexibility to handle a variety of different types of interactions around employees, hiring, changing position, termination. You can add more of those in there, and allows the HR team to have a huge amount of control over the workflow process. Makes it very quick and easy for you to make updates to tasks that need to be assigned and who those go to, and changing descriptions and information. Okay, the next one that we're going to go take a look at is our employee change of information form. So the intent of the employee change of information form is, again, another employee self-service functionality, and it's really around the idea of having one place that the employee can come in to change information related to HR, such as their personal contact information, emergency contacts, information about dependents, beneficiaries, all that kind of stuff. Have one place to go and fill out that data. So let's take a quick example of one of those. So I'm going to go ahead, again, envision, maybe, someone has, realized that, the baby was born. Now they want to communicate back to HR that they now have a new dependent. I can log in securely to the HR portal. I can click on the icon for change employee information, and I wind up at my page where I'm going to go ahead and fill out my form. So you can see the application recognized me as a logged in user. Again, this can populate the department and manager if all that is been pre-configured through network properties. And then I have a variety of information change types. So I can change address, I can change emergency contact, I can add a dependent or update an existing dependent, I can add a beneficiary or update an existing beneficiary. And again, we provide a series of kind of pre-configured fields. It is possible for us to adjust these and add additional fields if you so should choose to. So I'm going to go ahead, in my use case, I'm going to add a dependent. I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. We have a middle name, and we'll go ahead and say it's a child. Again, we have ideas around dependent physician name, physician ID, sex, birth date, height, weight, tobacco, so on and so forth. We have included a dependent social security number. Again, these can be adjusted as necessary based on your business and compliance needs. So I filled out some basic information here. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Oh, this is our, just looking for that. I'm going to go ahead and put in accounting. So we have some of that stuff here. You can see we have some required fields, so you can enforce that information. So then the application in the background is going to go ahead, it's going to populate in that dependent. It'll also generate out of the box a task designated for a, say the HR group, or say your benefits group. So again, that'll be a item that you can track this particular piece of information, make sure that that got populated in the appropriate systems. It is absolutely possible for us through customization to extend an application like this to potentially send data, say, to an existing HR services. Say you've got ADP or other types of systems where you are logging information time, say to an insurance functionality. We do those on a custom, a job by job basis. Typically we have to understand the data systems and what data passes back and forth, and then we quote specifically for that configuration. As you can see here, it's because I had identified as the manager, it's been sending me some emails. If I go in here, let me open up my mail here real quick. You can see the application is sending me lots of information, right? There's my task that's been added dependent. So you got a lot of communication happening in the background, letting you know via email, things that are happening from a services basis. All right, next one we want to take a look at then is our new hire portal. So the new hire portal is the concept, and I'm going to go ahead and let me go back home here. It's the idea that, you know, we've gone through the process of hiring a person. We've run the employee onboarding process, you know, to make sure that everything's set up for them. But then we have the employee coming in, and we, you know, typically they're going to have that new hire day packet, right? And in a lot of scenarios, what you're having to do is go through, you're grabbing printouts, you know, a lot of materials to work with, you're consolidating that package, you're throwing it onto a desk, you know, you're expecting the user to fill that out. So what the new hire portal does is it provides a mechanism to reduce or eliminate the need for an HR team to print out employee packets. It also allows the HR team to monitor new hire, you know, documentation process on the fly. In other words, to make sure that the employee has filled out all of their kind of first day or first week types of information so you can get everything processed. Again, the application is set up in the same kind of concepts as the employee onboarding application, where the HR team has the ability to configure the application for the different types of documents and information and tasks, if you will, that we need that particular employee to do. So we've got some sample information in here to give you some idea about kind of how this information is configured and managed. So I'm going to open up my voluntary benefits configuration item here, and we'll edit that so you can get a better idea of what that looks like. So again, can work directly in the list, kind of similar to a spreadsheet, or you can pop up in a form that allows you to edit the information. So again, as the HR person, I'm able to say, hey, this is exact title of this particular item, voluntary benefits. I again have a rich text box that I can utilize to provide information specific to this particular new hire task. And you'll notice in this configuration, because it is a rich text box, I can set up, for example, links. So I could have a link maybe that goes out to, you know, a third-party site where the user is going to fill that out, or potentially I could point at, say, a document or a form that I'm managing in the HR portal in my document libraries. The important thoughts around this kind of feature is that as long as I don't change the file name itself, say of the document I've stored in the library, I could go in and edit that document, update it as necessary, and that makes sure that every employee that we're going through that new hire process is going to be getting the most current version of that particular form or document, right? I'm sure you've run into scenarios where there's been printouts of forms, you thought they got updated, you know, some new version came out, and down the line somewhere, you know, you pulled the packet and the user got, you know, the wrong form. So if we're linking that particular new hire to a form that you are managing in kind of one place, right, when they link through to the form, it's going to help ensure that they're getting the correct version. We allow you to specify the time to complete. By default, we set up for completing in the first day or the first week. You can also designate that the information is simply information to review. There's no you know, outstanding due date in relationship to that. You can set up a display sequence. Again, activate or inactivate a particular task. If you want to have a direct link with the task to a particular document, you can add that in here. And we have a designation of, again, just kind of displaying the information as part of your process or creating a SharePoint task that the user needs to acknowledge. In this case, we have that set up as yes. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this. Now, I've set up I've already configured one of our, an example here. The great thing about the way we've set up the field is once everything has been configured, it's super easy for HR to set up for a new hire. You simply have to go in, add the new hire's name. Again, this kind of in this configuration, it assumes that your onboarding staff, the networking guys have entered this person into the system, and you have that name out there that you can apply, and send them email, do all that kind of stuff. Again, put that date of joining in here. I'm not going to go ahead and do that because it takes a little while for the application to run, but I've entered in a new person, test user 2 here, that we put in. So, I'm sorry, test user 1 here, and their date of joining is going to be 12/3. So what's going to happen then in the background, from an administrator standpoint, the application is going to go through the configuration list, and based on the information that you've configured in the list, it's going to go ahead and it's going to generate a series of tasks. So in this case, we have 5 tasks that have been set up for test user 1. If I go to test user 1, so I'm going to switch accounts here. I'm going to go and pretend that I am now test user 1. A couple of things are going to happen. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Human Resources to go back to our Human Resources page, and I could potentially, as that user, click into the new hire portal, and I'll click into the welcome portal. And here is that interface that the user is going to work with. So you can configure in the background. For example, we have a link here that can point again to a welcome letter that you're storing on your HR site. And then your user is going to see a series of tasks that they need to complete. Because I've reused this user a couple times in demonstrations, you can see they've already got some tasks that they completed. But here is that, if we simulate, hey, this is a brand new person, here are the 4 tasks that I have asked the user to complete in the first, the first day. Here's a task that I've asked them to complete within the first week. What the application also does is it sends an email notification to that user. So I set this up earlier as a test, so you can see here the user also sees through notification, here's some tasks that you need to be doing. It is possible, if you've got the hire process going, your IT staff has set up that particular user in the network, you could actually, and you've provided that email address to the user, to that new hire, they could potentially start filling out information before they arrive on the first day. And we have had a couple of clients that are actually using the application in that scenario to help facilitate that. We use a version of this application ourselves in our new hire process, and it has essentially eliminated the need for our HR team to print out any documents and put them in a packet for the new hire. The user comes in, our new hire comes in, they sit down at their desk, they're able to log into the machine because our staff has set them up. We have a policy within the machine when they open up the browser initially and log in, it's going to route them directly to that page that I demonstrated in our new hire process. So they get sent right here, and they can immediately start filling out their new hire paperwork. Okay, so that is the new hire portal. I'm going to go back here, and the last one we're going to take a look at then is our performance review application. So the performance review application is really intended not just the concept of having an online form in which the manager and the employee are going to be filling out goals and progress and evaluation and all that kind of thing. It's intended to be a more of a full service application to help the HR team facilitate the performance review process. What was communicated to us was a lot of organizations have a challenge from an HR perspective of making sure or communicating, the process across the year, right? Typically, there's going to be, some corporate goal setting that's occurring potentially early in the year or late in the year before. You're going to start, the employee review process, which might be collaboration between the manager and the employee about goal setting. Typically, you're going to want, in a perfect world, you're going to want 1 or 2 sessions between the manager and the employee around progress. Then, typically the end of the year, there's going to be that, that review about the performance and so on and so forth. So to help manage that business process, we've put several different pieces of functionality in place. One of the first pieces that we put in is the idea of creating and facilitating alignment of corporate goals. So this is done through a couple of SharePoint lists, but it basically allows the HR team or the management team to create high-level corporate goals for that particular year, and then from a department level, be able then to associate specific goals per department in relationship to those corporate goals. Based on the department, then, the individual staff member as part of that department then can create goals for themselves or working with their manager and align those goals to those department goals. So essentially what you get then is a ability to, as say a manager or a leadership person, to see that relationship between corporate goals and individual goals. So you can see here we have a couple of corporate goals set up for fiscal year 2018. We also can go backwards in time and look at potentially goals that we worked on last year from a review process. I'll go ahead and set this up for 2018. And then we can drop down that information. So you can see here for a couple of our departments, for HR and for sales, we have some goals that they've been set up in relationship to increase business intelligence revenue. So HR had a task or goal of hiring the data analyst. Sales is going to run 4 BI seminars. I then, by setting up the goals with individual users, I can then see as a manager for test user 1, they have the goal to interview and hire the data analyst. So I can roll up and review alignment of our goal structures to make sure that our organization is moving forward in a proper manner. I've also got a performance review meeting schedule, so I can make this available to my managers and to HR. This is a SharePoint scheduler that allows you to go ahead and schedule, say, those goal setting, goal review, and final performance review calendar items. And this will actually, as those are created, this will actually send that request, that schedule, if you will, so that you can open that up and store it in an Outlook calendar as well. We also have a tool in the application that allows the HR team to actually set up the schedule. So you can see here I have a presentation of everything that we were doing in 2018. Again, similar to some of our other functionality, I have the ability to create and associate with, say, these individual, timeline items, if you want, these events. I can make those just plain email notifications out to a set of users, or I can actually generate tasks that those users need to acknowledge by completing them. So you've got lots of flexibility there. The final piece of the puzzle then is our performance review application itself. This is an online form. It's fully secured so that only the appropriate folks can interact with these. I have one of these here for our developer that I put in place. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the form. So this is our online performance review form. It's going to populate information pulled in from the application and networking information. So you can see this user and the manager. They're also going to see a presentation of the performance review schedule. So they have to acknowledge basically that we do have a process and we've been going through it. And then we have sections for performance reviews and review summaries. So I have the ability, working with my manager, to create goals. Again, if I've selected the department, I can define the goal and description. And once I've done those, my manager has the ability to review those individual goals, provide comments, overall ratings for each goal, as well as an overall performance review rating. And the application also provides, in terms of the performance review completion process, the ability for the employee to make comments about the review and also to acknowledge that they have received their review, and we can generate a signable PDF version of the performance review if you need that type of thing. So that's our HR portal. Sorry, I ran right up on to 12. Hopefully you got some great information. I will go ahead if you'd like, and we can open up for questions. I'm happy to stay on as long as you want to in relationship to this, but hopefully you've got some great information, and if you have questions, you want to follow up, please feel free to notify me or your Peters & Associates account representative.